economic hardship that has plagued the country. Who came to talk to me simply just wanted money to buy food to eat. Food insecurity is real. That is the economy Akufo-Addo we have the hope has created for us. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel because by God's grace, John Dramani Mahama would clinch a resounding victory on the 7th of December. And I would also win by the grace of God to add up to the numbers that the NDC will chalk in terms of our figured numbers in Parliament, so that we can boast of a majority in Parliament to deliver on the promises that President Mahama has made. I mean, we need to salvage our economy. We need to improve on the agri sector. My name is James Agalga. I'm the Member of Parliament of this constituency, which is the Blue Sun North constituency. I am also the ranking member of the Defence and Interior Committee in Parliament. I've been in Parliament since January 2013 till date. And once again, I'm running for the office of Parliament on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress in the December 7 elections. My flag bearer is President John Dramani Mahama, who is seeking to break the 8 that the MPP has been attempting to do, but unfortunately they can't achieve their objective because of the mismanagement, the economic mess they have created, the huge debts they have piled up, and of course the corruption that has bedeviled the country ever since they took over the reins of governance in this country. I mean, the economic hardship that has plagued the country is alarming. I mean, this morning, if you heard me talk to some of my constituents, I mean, they came here in their numbers, and each and every one of them has a challenge. I mean, there was one who spoke about school fees for her daughter who is scheduled to report in school. I mean, for BC Senior High School, and you can see clearly that contrary to this whole mantra, I mean, free senior high school education as a success story, you find that, I mean, it is far, far, far from the truth. Because you see, this is a child who has to go to senior high school, which is, I mean, in the books of the MPP, free, and they tout that as an achievement. And yet, we have to look for money to support that child to go to school. And these are some of the things we have been talking about. Another, I mean, of one of the constituents who came in wanted money to go to the hospital. That is indicative of the fact that the National Health Insurance scheme is ineffective. It is dysfunctional. I mean, as we speak, right? Because she was carrying a child who has a high temperature. But she dare not go to the hospital, because if she goes to the hospital wouldn't be able to dispense even paracetamol. You see, that is the state of affairs. So this morning, if you want to have a feel of how this government, the Akufo-Addo government, has mismanaged the affairs of this country, right? My interaction with my constituents this morning sums up everything. I mean, the state of affairs in this country is alarming. Some of the people who came to talk to me simply just wanted money to buy food to eat. Food insecurity is real. They simply can't even afford to buy food to eat. Why? Because this country, I mean, clearly has witnessed food inflation. I mean, in very high figures that we have never seen before. Food insecurity is real. You know, inflation has skyrocketed. If you go to the market now, you can't buy food stuffs. You can't. Why is it so? It's because farm inputs have seen, an exponential, increase in terms of their pricing. So a lot of the farmers who hitherto could, let's say, till 2 acres of farmland can no longer do that. Their yield has reduced drastically because they can't afford to buy fertilizers, in order to improve upon the yield. All these factors have contributed to food insecurity. So literally, people have been reduced to beggars. They go around cupping hands, begging for alms in order to survive. That is the economy Akufo-Addo has created for us. It's really bad, but we have the hope. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, because by God's grace, John Dramani Mahama would clinch a resounding victory on the 7th of December. And I would also win by the grace of God to add up to the numbers that the NDC will chalk in terms of our figured numbers in Parliament, so that we can boast of a majority in Parliament to deliver on the promises that President Mahama has made. We need to salvage our economy. We need to improve on the agri sector. We need to, review the entire educational, sector. The free SHS policy would have to be reviewed, for its own improvement and betterment. Okay, we need to do a lot of infrastructure. When we were coming, you saw that the road network in this part of the country is very deplorable, particularly in this constituency. And yet, President Mahama caused to be awarded on contract the road network. The main road, the Sandema-Juchoga Highway, on contract. But unfortunately, MPP came to office in 2016 and halted all the work. So you see, the work has stalled. And so these are some of the things we would be, working on when we come to power after the 7th of December. Health, it's very clear the entire health sector is suffering because the NHIS is not working. If you go to the hospital, they lack basic medicines to dispense. Health infrastructure is nothing to write home about. If you go to the Sandema District Hospital, you'd find that the hospital, it's in a deplorable state. It needs to be renovated. But the Ministry of Health has turned its back on the people of Sandema and Bulsa, because this is the only referral facility we have. And yet, over the past 8 years, the hospital has not seen any upgrade. It's in a deplorable condition now. If you visit the hospital, you'd be sad. And that is unfortunate. The government has a duty, it owes the people of Bulsa the responsibility to ensure that the hospital is up to scratch. When the NDC was in office, Sandema Hospital at one point was adjudged as the best district hospital in the whole region. It even did better than the War Memorial Hospital in Avrongo. At our time, we tried to improve upon the infrastructure. We built a kitchen. We tried to expand, build more wards. But ever since the MPP took over, we have not seen any improvement whatsoever. I've done my part. I've been trying to put up, cheap compounds here and there across the length and breadth of the constituency to try to improve upon primary health care. And that has gone a long way to, help ameliorate the suffering of the people at that level. But when you move up to the level of the district hospital, it leaves much to be desired, and a lot of work has to be done. I have spoken at length about the hardship that the MPP government has inflicted on Ghanaians and the people of the Bulsa North constituency. are not an exception. They have suffered a lot under the hands of this government. All the sectors of the economy are suffering. The education sector is suffering, the health sector is in trouble, the agri sector is on the verge of collapse. In terms of infrastructure, we haven't seen any improvement. Over the period that the NPP has been in power. And so, it is for the people to make a reasonable decision by exercising their vote in favor of the NDC, President Mahama as president once again, and James Agalga as member of parliament, so that we can rescue this country and reset it for the betterment of what? The people. We need to restore confidence in our economy by ensuring that the currency is stable. Bawumia, who is seeking to become president, God forbid he won't become president, is a failure. He promised to deal with the currency instability, but unfortunately under his watch, we've seen our currency take a nosedive. The exchange rate is terrible. It is at its worst. The cedi is at its worst performance ever. You see, these are the things we need to work upon to ensure that, look, we improve upon the health sector. Our district hospital is fixed. Our roads are fixed. School children, students, at least should have some respite with some of the policies we intend to roll out. All right, the student loan plus, the waiver of first year tertiary fees by the NDC government is going to go a long way to help our tertiary students. Only this morning, a number of tertiary students came here. They wanted me to help them pay their fees strongly, that if the waiver of the first year tertiary fees, is implemented, they wouldn't have to be running about begging for alms, because they will have the briefing space in the first year, and in the second year, they will be entitled to access the student loan plus. So they would attend school with dignity. You see, our human dignity naturally bars us from resorting to certain tendencies, and one of them is begging for alms. Nobody wants to do that unless you are deeply constrained. So when I see people go out of the way to say, I'm in need, I need support, I usually am touched. I'm touched, because I know that as humans, naturally, nobody wants to get to the point of begging for support from anybody. And that is what the NDC wants to prevent, and to ensure that people have quality access to quality education in dignity. So their dignity is not compromised. At the moment, the dignity of our students have been compromised. You think of it, you cannot afford to eat well. Students in the senior high schools, the quality of feeding is terrible. So most of them have actually contracted stomach ulcers. Some have contracted typhoid. The last time I saw the statistics, all because the quality of feeding is bad. In the senior high schools. See, these are some of the problems the NDC will fix when we come to power. And they are the reasons, compelling reasons, why the electorate would want to retain me in office as the MP and to vote overwhelmingly for President Mahama to return to the Flagstaff House as our Commander-in-Chief, Head of State, so we can reset our country. The youth clearly has a role to play in ensuring that the elections are incident-free, but I will not use Boko as an example, because we all know what the antecedents of the Boko conflict is. It's chieftaincy related, but we're talking about election security, and if we have to have an incident-free election, the government has a critical role to play. The government must ensure, and the Electoral Commission must ensure, that the elections are transparent, free, and fair. They must ensure that the elections are conducted in an atmosphere devoid of intimidation. They must desist from using the state security apparatus to intimidate and to brutalize people. Like we saw in Techiman. If you use state security apparatus, criminals in security uniforms, to brutalize and kill innocent citizens, then you are inviting trouble for all of us. There would be a reaction which may be difficult to contain. And so I would admonish Akufo-Addo, who is Commander-in-Chief, is Chairman of the National Security Council. A lot of responsibility rests on his shoulders. And of course the EC, to ensure that there is peace during the elections and after the elections. And how do we guarantee that? One, that the elections are conducted in a very peaceful atmosphere. There are no attempts to manipulate the outcomes of the elections. And that generally people should have the sense that their ballots are counted. These are the ways to guarantee a free, fair, and transparent election. If these things are observed critically, I don't think the youth will have any reason to resort to violence in the upcoming elections. In the absence of these things that I have outlined, I am sorry, the youth will not sit back and allow criminals in security uniforms to open fire on them even when they are on retreat. Is that how to manage and control crowds? And 8 years down the line, not a single soul has been arrested and prosecuted. So don't let us blame the youth. Let's blame the state security apparatus. Let's blame the Commander-in-Chief and Chairman of the National Security Council for those fallouts during the conduct of the 2020 elections. We hope he has learned his lessons and will not want to leave office as the president who plunged this country into chaos because he had the insatiable, test for power. He shouldn't leave such a legacy behind. He would want to be remembered for handing over peacefully and graciously. Speaking to issues to do with the economy, how the MPP has mismanaged the economy, why it is compelling for the electorate to vote for the NDC, its presidential and parliamentary candidates across the country, including my good self as candidate for the Bulls-Above constituency, and also for the government to ensure that the elections are free, fair, and transparent, and that Akufo-Addo would transition from the presidency to a former president and would be remembered for having presided over a peaceful transfer of power. A repetition of 2020 elections, the violence that ensued, will not be countenanced. People were killed for no apparent reason because the MPP felt they were losing. They have lost the parliamentary elections and wanted to manipulate outcomes so that they would have the numbers that they currently have. Any attempt to repeat what happened in 2020 definitely would be recipe for chaos. Let's not shy away from saying the truth. It will be recipe for chaos, and when that happens, you have no reason to blame the youth because you wanted us to place the responsibility squarely on the youth. That would be unfair. And that is why I spoke to those issues. Thank you for the attention.